Hello Wargames, it's me Cameron from Tabletop Banter, and in today's video we are finally going to look at those finished zombies that I have been working on for Vince Venturella's Budget of Sigmar 2, Electric Boogaloo. Alright, here are 5 of my zombies. So we're going to take a look at these probably one at a time at some point, but here's the first 5 that I finished. I've got another 5 that are done as well. They have been sealed with some matte varnish, so I know it's still a little shiny. I only put a light coat on it. It was basically just to preserve the paint. So here you can see 5 zombies, including 1 noisemaker. And let's just push them to the back of the class one at a time and bring 1 forward for inspection and then rotate thusly. So let's bring him nice and close in. Let's change the focus so it lies on him. That's the wrong way. And yeah, let's have a look at him. So here he is. This is the very first one. You'll remember I talked about green stuffing the big flaming scythe. Well, that's what I have done. You can see the fire on this has turned out the least favourite of all of the fire effects at the moment. The lava base was pretty simple. The actual painting of the zombie was kind of simple. But getting that fire right took me ages, and I'm still not 100% pleased. I am pleased with the shape, because you can see that it's got little ripples and little flows of fire when you look at it close enough. It does vaguely resemble fire. The blending didn't quite come out as I planned. I'm going to work on that for the next 10. I'm not rushing, but I don't want to oversaturate my hobby with just zombies. But I am, like I said, I am pleased. I think it's come out okay. Let's just take you around a view of the back. You can see here the flesh I've done is very human-like. I did mix my own flesh tone. I used Vallejo light flesh, rat skin flesh, Rakarth flesh, and then 2 drops of moot green just to give it like an undertone. I sprayed that in through the airbrush, over 90% of the model pretty much. And then I took it down a bit with a Reikton flesh shade. I then dry brushed over the top of that with a light flesh shade, and that is the tone we get at the end. And it's fairly varied. It's, like I said, it's pretty damn simple. It's nothing spectacular, but these are zombies, they're dying in droves. I don't want to spend hours on every single one. And I'm kind of pleased with how it turned out. Anyway, so that's the first fella. He goes back to the whoopsie. He falls over a lot. So now we have this guy who's carrying around some kind of combat blade, or I don't know what you'd call it. It could be some piece of farming machinery that I'm not a farmer, so I'm not wholly aware of what it would be called if it was a piece of farming machinery. Anyway, this is the fella who had fire stuck between his hands, basically. You can see there I've got some fingers poking out the end of the fire. Pretty pleased with how this one turned out. It snakes up his arm a little. Hopefully the light doesn't wash it out too much, but you can kind of see there what I am going for. You can see his thumb poking through. If I just find something really thin, I'll use a paintbrush, there we go. You can see his thumb poking through just here. Oh, that was a lot thicker than I thought. Just here. Which is really cool. I do enjoy that element of it, and it's like subtly on fire. There's the back. Again, really simple base coats was how I did this, and that I think gives it this nice simple look. So it was purple, it had a wash, and then it had a half purple and pink dry brush. The grey was dark grey, it had a wash, and then it had a light grey dry brush. It was that simple, but still relatively effective, given that this is just the run-of-the-mill, these guys are gonna die troop choice. I'm not too fussed. Now we come on to the noisemaker. Again, really pleased with the fire on this guy. I don't know how I'm gonna get him to stand so you can actually see it well. Will that do? Yes. So you can see here that we've got it again. This is the end of the foot that he is holding is on fire. It blends relatively nicely from the white to the yellow to the orange and red, and then a little black tip, just the smoke bit at the end. I followed the tutorial that Duncan did from Warhammer TV or something like that, because it was really handy for a quick way of doing fire. I am hopefully going to develop it for when it comes around to things like Neferata, where I'm going to try and do a really good job of blending. But again, these are zombies, they don't have to be perfect. So you can see here the little colour transitions from white, yellow, orange, red, black. But again, the principle is very simple, and I think the basing again is come out okay. It's this kind of lava ground. I mean, I've seen some absolutely stunning lava bases recently, scarily good in fact, and I haven't been able to replicate that. However, I have done a suitable tabletop standard, in my opinion, lava base. And you can see I like the face on this guy. Yeah, the eyes are a mix of white and 1 drop of moot green, just to give it that kind of like undead hue. I really did enjoy painting up these guys. It was something very different because I'm not used to painting small zombie-like figures. Now this is the guy who I thought was going to be the biggest pain in the proverbial, and I wasn't far off. So you can see I have been relatively successful when it comes to doing this guy's head. He is screaming, and it does kind of look like there's fire on his head. I think I took the orange a little far down. It would have been nice to have a little more yellow in this area here. And the same goes for the opposite side, I would say. But you can see there is a general theme of fire here, and it's going alright. Got the black bit, it works the way down. He does look like he is pretty miffed that his head is on fire. But again, the base turned out alright on this one. I was pretty pleased with that. Lots of colour on it, lots of alright blends. The skin tone was solid. I really enjoy the way that I could just put the paint on for the skin, and that was that, and it was kind of quite a simple one. Those hands are massive, by the way. I mean, if we look at the proportion, I'd never really seen this until right now. 1/3 of his arm is upper arm, 1/3 is forearm, 1/3 is hand. I have not known anyone to have a hand as big as their forearm. That's incredible. Okay. And you can see here the exposed bone I did very simply. It was just bleached bone, or whatever it's called now, shanty bone, and then a tiny little wash in the recess of Reichland flesh shade again, actually, because I just like the way it turns colour. It just seems to work quite nicely. Very, very, very simple. Everything was done in a very simple way. And finally we have the guy holding a leg bone with a cape. So you'll notice this area here is flesh. I had a quite simple theme. I wanted it to look like he'd literally wrapped a dead body over his head as a shawl or something. I don't know how well that's come through on camera. It looks alright in person. It kind of looks like the desired effect. But yeah, you can see simple flesh tone, kept the base the same all the way throughout, and hopefully there'll be a tutorial on that at some point. And then we have the cloak, the fiery cloak. Relatively pleased. Does look a little bit blocky, but this was my first time green stuffing. This is certainly not going to be the last time, but it was also my first time painting fire. Hopefully we'll get a few more blends in here, and it'll just take it up to the next level. And that was the first 5, so let's go take a look at the second 5 in a seemingly perfect transition. And just like that, we're back. Here are 5 new zombies, and we're going to start by looking at the banner bearer. Again, the little blob of fire does look a little bit silly sometimes, but it's not all bad. Very simple paint job. He's pretty much just all flesh and simple colours, with fleshy hands for the end of the thing. But yes, that little blob of fire coursing from the top of his spear. Wow, that came out really wrong. Looks alright, and then we've got this little flesh wound, which I've done with a bit of purple in there. Again, really simple paint scheme. I think it's come out effective. It's certainly, this unit is very tabletop at the moment. Maybe just a little bit above. I think tabletop is really just base coat wash with a little dry brush in there, and the work on the bases. It does look quite cohesive, quite pretty when it's all out on the table. So I am pleased. I'll be doing a similar thing with the next 10 zombies and every zombie thereafter, because at the end of the day, I'm probably going to want about 60 of these things, and I'm not going to want them to look uncohesive, and I'm not going to want them to take me 10 hours each. So up next is a fellow with a scythe. Or not a scythe, pitchfork, that's the one. And here you can see the fire is crawling up his pitchfork, starting down there, working its way up to inside his hand. So this went alright. I was pretty pleased. I like the body of the miniature. I do particularly like these guts. They were very simple to paint for me. I painted them pink, and then I gave them a really heavy wash of purple, and that just filled in the gaps. Again, simple for the flesh. Tried to keep things nice and tidy. Tried to keep things fairly basic, because this is part of my process of working to be a better hobbyist, is the green stuff element. That's what this unit was for, green stuffing, and this is the first time I've done cork on a base. This army is a lot of firsts for me. So it's part of a learning process. I'm going to keep simple units simple, and I'm going to try and make the better units a bit more complicated. So if this doesn't look like my best work, it's because I'm trying to focus in other areas as well, and getting a good quality paint job on there. Doesn't have to be pro, just good, and something that when it looks like, when it's all laid out on the table, someone goes, wow, that's all right, that's not bad, that's pretty aesthetically pleasing. So there's the pitchfork fella. On to the second pitchfork. So this guy is obviously another cape wearer, with the slightly heftier fire on the back as far as I can remember. Again, really simple basing technique. Split the rocks down the middle, put a bit of paint in there, it was all good to go. And then we head to the back. Now this is the cloak I'm slightly more impressed with. Excuse me, I am really pleased with how this cloak came out. This was by far and away the best one I've done. One of the best fire bits I'd painted, because it was one of the ones I'd done near the end. Oh, excuse me. Okay, so yeah, that was I really enjoyed painting that fire. I really did. It came out particularly nice. There was a little bit less white, a little bit more orange, and there you have it. Again, super simple basing, nice bit of pitchforkery. Next up, we've got a guy who probably cuts down crops in his past life, and was, you know, possibly a member of, like, I don't know, the American Civil War. He's got that hair which just looks like an old man. And I've seen pictures of people from the American Civil War, and they had that hair, and they wrote the laws and stuff, all the constitutions. I don't know, films probably aren't the best thing to go off. That wasn't. Anyway, this fella here, again, nice and simple, but the fire is crawling up his leg this time and onto his back. I was pretty pleased with this. I like the way it turned out. You can see the fire obviously crawling up all the way up the back of his leg, from the inside of his boot. So yeah, again, pretty pleased. Kept it simple, and there you have it. And the final one, it's Mr. Oh my god, what's this fire? This is the best flame effect I think I managed to do. The dude is looking at the end of this piece of wood like, what? Where am I? Why is there fire on this? You can see it better there, the puzzled look, the flaming end of the... kind of looks like it's actually holding a torch. And that just made him sound utterly lame. But yeah, I like the base. This is possibly my favourite. It's got the nice little gut effect in the middle there. Super basic. Anyone can do the techniques that I have done right today if they're early in their hobby journey, and can green stuff, because I'm still learning all that jazz. But I was really pleased with how this guy came out as well. So that was it really. I just wanted to show you the progress I've been making with these zombies. Next month, 10 more zombies and a necromancer. Pretty excited for that. It should be fun. We'll see how I go. Anyway, thank you ever so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, leave your comments below. Go and check out Vince Venturella's channel for more information on this month's, or this 6-month hobby challenge. Get involved, it's never too late, even if you just do it for yourself and not for everyone else. So thank you so much for watching again. It's been me, Banter. Don't forget, have fun.